gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's August the 11th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented as always by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt, you know, I made a mistake. I ventured into the YouTube comments. I ventured out into the Twitter universe, and man, I was amazed at what a absolute furor I created by giving a simple opinion on what we saw taking place on the practice field with Jacurri Brown. And, you know, we could talk a little bit more about it. But the bottom line is that it really touched the nerve for some people. And I saw a lot of anger. I saw a lot of hostility, and I just couldn't quite understand. So I thought we would take a deep breath to start the show this morning and just kind of hit the reset button with everybody and regroup. So, you know, let's do that.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, when it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change. We all a part of God's great big family. And the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day. Just you and me. We are the world. We are the world. We are the children. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our lives. It's true, we make a brighter day. Just you and me.
Yeah. You feel better? I feel better.
I mean, you had to play all that. I mean, look, it was you who said you thought Bruce Springsteen was a terrible singer and would never make it in the pros, you know, and that he was going to wind up at wide receiver. So, I mean, at playing the drums, not lead singer. So, you know.
I just want to feel cleansed, you know, there's of all that anger and hostility and over just commentary on the third string quarterback after 3-4 days of fall camp. I mean, do you think that did it, Matt? Or do we need this?
Focus on your self-love. That helps a lot. If you know how to control your self-love, then you'll be fine.
You think? You think we're good now?
I listen. I can only tell you. Are you apologizing? I don't understand. Like, what's going on?
No, I'm not apologizing. I'm trying to bring some happiness to our viewers this morning. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. But all right, I want to talk about that. But I also want to say that I did get another text about you yesterday that I thought I should also clean up here at the beginning of the show. And it said, Gary, your show is worthless without Matt Shodell. Matt is the greatest. He's the funniest. He brings brightness to my morning every day when I wake up and I fry some eggs and I make a cup of coffee. I must get my fix of Matt Shodell to get my day going. So regardless of his opinions on the Frankenstein Labradoodles, please allow him to stay on Good Morning CaneSport. Okay. So I thought you would like that.
I mean, look, it depends who it came from, and if you made it up yourself or not. I need those two questions answered. But listen, I'm too old for plaudits. I'm too old for criticism. Like I'm not lying. Like I just don't care, man. Like I'm just here to like somewhat have some fun, maybe with you and the fans, and like try to be a journalist once in a while, and like hopefully get some news out there. Maybe perhaps have a national championship before I'm forced to retire by probably saying something wrong on this show, and I'm kicked off every website everywhere forever. So I'm just hoping we get to that point. At some point in my life before.
All right, so let me ask you this. Should I apologize for my comment that I made? I mean, listen, this is the deal. This is what we do. We give you guys opinions, feedback, observations. We're your eyes out there when we're out on the practice field. And Matt will, I think, 100% back me up on this. Jacurri has been struggling out there. And when it starts getting as pronounced as when they're throwing at a net, 20 yards away or 15 yards away, and, he's not hitting the net. And when they're running drills designed to get receivers work running routes and the passes aren't being completed because they're off target, like, to me, that is somebody that is really, really struggling. And I look at a kid that is incredibly athletic, an incredible leader. He proved that in high school, has so many things that you want on a college football team. And I'm thinking to myself, before this reaches the point that Jacurri Brown gets frustrated because he's a third or fourth string quarterback and he's struggling through his practices every day and things like that, maybe they should take a look at him at receiver, where maybe he would be this tall, lanky, big target, big catch radius, athletic presence at a position where Miami could use some help right now. So that was the thought that went through my mind. That's what I was posting about. And I mean, Matt, I was surprised at how personally some people took that. I don't understand why people would be running to Twitter to scream, in absolute anger over that. But that's literally what we were seeing. Would you agree?
I mean, I'm not going to let you put words in my mouth, but I will tell you what I feel. What I feel is people reacted to your Tate Martell comparison. And I understand that because Tate Martell played quarterback at two programs over a period of 5 years and was awful. And I understand why some people say, well, that's not a good comparison because Jacurri is just a freshman. Like, give him a chance, So I understand
Tate
that.
Martell had played in games at Ohio State before he got to Miami. Right. In the season right before his transfer.
Right.
He had played in games for him.
Yeah, I mean, if you let me finish, I'll share what I believe.
But I'm just saying, it's not like it's so crazy,
I just think that comparison set a lot of people off, and maybe because Tate Martell was, Tate Martell actually had a decent first year in college, so it's maybe it was a little not a great comparison. But what I would say if someone asked me without ever hearing you say a word, if they asked me, how's Jacurri progressing, I would say in the spring he was not even at a level where they would put him in team drills, period. When they ran in this is the spring, we're going back a little bit, okay? But we saw 15 practices in the spring. You get an idea when he came in where he was then, first now. So let's start with then. Then they would be running 11 and 11, and they would put Tyler Van Dyke in 11 and 11, which they call team periods, and they would put Jake Garcia in team periods, and then all of a sudden they bring Jacurri in at the end, and they would remove all the defensive linemen from the field and offensive linemen from the field, and they would just have Jacurri just take a ball, and the guys would run their routes and he'd throw it. The coaches obviously felt he needed some sort of confidence boost. I've never seen that happen before, period, with any quarterback, where they just remove the defensive line when they're in team periods. They did it for Jacurri in the spring. I don't understand why. I've never asked why. It seems inappropriate sort of to ask a coach Why? Because the answer probably is he doesn't understand the offense. Something's going on. His mechanics aren't right, and we want him to focus on things other than worrying about a defensive lineman perhaps touching him or whatever. Let him see the field and get comfortable. I don't know what the answer was, but that's what happened in the spring. So you expect, okay, it'll be different in the fall because he just got here. Give him a break. But now he's been here since January. He's been here for 7-8 months. You assume he's been working with various coaches. And I think even, if I'm not mistaken, I think even Malik Rozier said he's working with him. So he's been working on things. And one of the habits that he had that I was talking with somebody who knows this stuff very well, he had in the spring is he would take the ball and twirl it. It was almost like a nervous habit. He would twirl it and then throw it, which obviously you can't do that at this level because that's the extra split second it takes for a defensive lineman to get to you and get a sack, fumble, whatever. He's still doing that this fall. Okay, I've seen it. He still has that bad habit. In the spring, he actually, for whatever reason, was more accurate than he is now. I don't know if that's because he's trying to focus so much on some sort of major change in his mechanics. Maybe that's what the only explanation I have is he's trying so hard to work on his mechanics. And like, I'm a baseball guy, okay, more than a football guy, believe it or not. I know you all think I'm an expert in football, right? But listen, in baseball, okay, I was a pitcher, okay, at Tufts, and I coached my son, who is a high-level pitcher in travel ball, and I know how it goes. And when you change a mechanic in pitching, you don't just change a mechanic before a game. You don't just change a mechanic a week before a game. You don't change a mechanic for a pitcher a month before a game. You change a mechanic months before that first game of the season or whatever it is. You need an off season just to even work on fixing one bad habit. That's how long it takes for a baseball pitcher. Okay, and I'm not going to lie to you guys and say I'm an expert on quarterbacks, but let's face it, throwing is throwing at the end of the day. And if you're a football quarterback or you're a pitcher and you change one major mechanic that you're trying to get fixed, it takes months to break bad habits. And when you change, the reason you can't pitch in a game immediately when you're changing mechanics is because you're wild as hell. And then you go back to your bad habits, so you're not wild anymore. It doesn't work. The change in mechanics, whether it's a longer stride or staying tall in pitching terms, okay, it's going to affect your throwing. If you're staying tall, you might start throwing high for a while until you understand how to follow through correctly down to the ground to bring that ball down. Whatever Jacurri is doing mechanically right now, it wasn't fixed over this offseason when it should have been fixed, whether by him or a coach, whoever you want to blame. It wasn't fixed. It wasn't fixed, whatever he's trying to fix. He is throwing balls like I listen, you guys can watch the videos. We didn't put them all up because it's embarrassing, quite frankly. He's throwing the ball, literally, I saw him throw a ball, I'm not exaggerating, 20 yards over a guy's head, and the guy was just 10 yards down the field from him, and he fired it like 90 miles an hour over the guy's head. Jacurri has all the talent in the world. He has no mechanics. He may not have a real sense of the offense yet, which is that's understandable for a quarterback in a new, in a system, a college system that's pretty complex. Every player has told me this is much more complex than what Rhett Lashley had. So you can't expect him to pick it up right away. What you can expect is for a freshman quarterback to throw accurate passes because walk-ons do that. Peyton Matocha, who we've been saying for a while is never going to play here, throws accurate passes. But Peyton Matocha and these walk-ons, they don't have, and even the scholarship guys, they don't have the combination of Jacurri's athleticism and arm talent. And that's why I think some people are upset when you say move him to receiver now, because maybe he'll figure it out. I mean, it is a little.
I just say give him some reps and let's see what he can do. Let him work out after practice, anything. Just see if he can play there.
Listen,
I mean, the guy does have a lot of athletic ability.
Yeah, I don't think he's a wide receiver. And I think if you moved him to wide receiver, he'd be transferring as soon as possible.
Is his body that much different than Lance Leggett's?
I've never seen him play wide receiver. So I
remember Lance Leggett?
Very similar frame. Just because the guy's athletic and tall doesn't mean he can play wide receiver. Okay,
but I would want to find out before he's frustrated that he's not going to play and he's the fourth team quarterback, which I believe he will be by next spring. By the end of next spring, if Emory Williams and Jaden Rashada come into the program and Jake Garcia's in place, it's my feeling that by the end of next spring that Jacurri will probably be number 4 on the depth chart, unless something amazing happens, and we will be the first to report it if something amazing happens, if there's this great transformation. But based on what we are seeing right now, understanding that they are about to go into a football season where the focal point is not going to be on Jacurri's mechanics and getting Jacurri right, the focal point is going to be winning football games with Tyler Van Dyke and maybe getting Jake Garcia ready to play. I don't know that I see this going to a happy place. And that's all I was commenting on. Like, I don't think this is going in the right direction. And I would love to see him very early here in training camp take some reps at receiver and go out and run some routes after practice or something and see what it looks like. Just have an idea what it looks like, because he is extremely athletic.
Well, he's got his hands full just trying to play quarterback right now. I would say give him till the spring. Give him till next spring. If he's still doing this next spring, then I think you say, listen, you've had a year and a half in the system. You still can't throw anywhere near a receiver, which he's not right now. That's just a fact. I'm not going to lie to anyone out there. If people want to call me names for saying that, I mean, that's what we're seeing.
They're coming after you. It's your turn today, Matt.
Well, we're not going to tell people stuff we're not seeing. We're not going to say, oh, everything's great. I mean, Jacurri's not. The receivers are frustrated when he's throwing passes to them because they want the work too, and you see them running their routes as best they can, and the ball's 10 yards over their head or 10 yards in front of them or a duck. And this is what's happening on the field. Like, this is our job, is to tell you guys what we see. And we say positives, and there's also guys who are going to say, listen, they're just right now, it's not working out.
A lot more positives than negatives.
Right now, Jacurri has a lot of work to do. And yeah, we've said some of the positives, and we'll say some of the positives as we move through some of these stories we wrote about this morning. I don't think people want to hear 15 minutes of what they may consider Jacurri bashing, but it's not bashing. It's just basically explaining maybe where Gary was coming from yesterday.
I just wanted to talk about it because it was a hot button, and there was a lot of very emotional comments, a lot of very emotional posts on the message boards, a lot of very emotional comments on the YouTube comments and stuff. So I thought it would be good for us to take a little bit of time here this morning and talk about it and explain it. And I mean, you're right. We don't need to go on and on about it, but I think that gives you guys an idea of what the impetus was behind the conversation in the first place. All right, we want to talk about stories that are on the website today as well, and we've got what we think is a good one, and it's breaking down the team by position and establishing a ranking of what positions are looking the best in fall camp right now. And despite the struggles that we just referred to, Matt, we put the quarterback position at number one. And I think, that's because of Tyler Van Dyke and Jake Garcia. And we, both of them performing at a quality level.
Yeah, you want to look for positives on this team, man. I mean, Tyler Van Dyke, he's NFL ready. There are some hiccups, but they're so once in a blue moon, and the placement of his balls, just leading guys. It's going to be really interesting when Miami gets its first test, because if the offense is faltering, it's not on Tyler. It'll be on the offensive line or the receivers just not getting open. But if the offensive line can be good, and I'll say a caveat in that, because last year the one thing I was wrong about is I thought the offensive line was going to be really good last year, and it wasn't. So I'm a little more hesitant this fall to make the same mistake and say the offensive line is going to be really good, especially when it's the same exact personnel coming back, minus Navon and Jared Williams, and just basically replace them with two Oregon transfers who were backups last year. So I'm a little hesitant to say this is going to be a really good offensive line. I know they're getting coached better. I don't know if fans like to put a lot of emphasis on strength and conditioning over the last 8 months and the new program, and then being coached by Alex Mirabal and by Mario Cristobal. But, we haven't seen a full pads practice yet. I think we'll see that this morning. When we see that and we see them going against the defensive line, you get a little more of an idea. But then at the same time, last year I thought the offensive line was going to be really good because they're going against the defensive line that turned out wasn't real good, So when I saw the offensive line doing well against the defensive line, I'm like, oh, we got something here. But they're playing against themselves. So until you really play a quality opponent, you don't know. And you might hear other media people saying, oh, man, this offensive line looks great. Oh, this receiver looks great. Sometimes it's hard to tell if your defensive back that receiver is going against consistently maybe has some issues. Maybe the defensive linemen, some of these offensive linemen are going against just aren't as good as we think they are. That's why you don't know a lot of times until you get into that first real game. And that's why I love the first real game. I hate those first two ridiculous games because you still don't know anything and they won't show anything. And it's nice to get the guys out there and let them run around and see some of the younger guys. And you can glean a lot off of that. But that Texas A&M game, man, like we're going to know. We're going to know what Mario and Mirabal did with that offensive line. We're going to know if Aaron Feld was justified in blowing off the media questions because he's just that good. And we're going to know if that cold room you tried to lock me in is actually helping these players. We're going to find out a lot of questions will be answered. Is Miami a team full of Labradoodle beasts, or are they, pretender little chihuahuas? I don't know, but we're going to find out in a while. And I wish I could tell you guys now, we rank these positions, but let's face it, I think you'd agree, Gary, that it's a little bit of guesswork. We know Tyler Van Dyke's great, but other than maybe the tight end position, I'm not sure you can say anything else on offense for sure right now. And on defense, I don't think there's anything we can say for sure. Like, we think the defensive backs will be the strongest part of that unit. But, aside from that, can we really say the front seven is that much better? They got a bunch of people in the portal that have to all mesh together. And right now they're all second teamers for the most part that we've seen. I'm not ready to declare anything yet. That's me. Negative Nelly, Nancy, Billy, Bobby. Negative anything except for Gary, apparently, because Gary's always positive. So call me what you want. But, that's just how I see it, man. I'm not going to sit here and try to get plaudits from people just to get plaudits. I mean, there's a lot of mysteries on this team, and some of it might be ugly and some of it might be great, but we're not going to know for a while.
Hey, you mentioned Aaron Feld, not to switch subjects here in the middle of our conversation about this ranking, but did you see his happy birthday message to himself yesterday? It was absolutely classic. Wait, let me tee that up here for a minute.
Happy birthday to
No, he stole that from you, Gary. He saw you doing that.
Oh my God! I mean,
do recruits come here because of that? I'm just curious what the motivation is.
I don't know. If he was a little more media friendly, I mean, it would be great. The other day, he saw the media ad on the practice field what he thought was a few seconds early, and he was like,
"Oh my God!" Yeah, they wouldn't let us out. Like, literally, he's like, "What are you guys doing here?" And then the next day, they kept us in a corner for the first until all the players came out, because I think Aaron Feld actually runs the University of Miami program. I'm pretty sure, because I don't think he had to get that whole routine approved. He just did it himself, posted it on Twitter, and people are like, he's crazy because he's crazy. There's no doubt about it.
I mean,
it's a good crazy, right?
One of the most unique human beings I think we've ever seen. I mean, it's incredible. I mean,
he's a character. Listen, as long as he gets results, fans are going to love him. If the team is getting pushed around, fans are going to be like, it's like that whole hashtag New Miami thing. Fans are going to get tired of that act real quick. So he better hope, like I said, between the dealing with the media and blowing everyone off and not letting fans know any information about any of the players they love, between putting up these things where he is curling out of an ice bath, between that, he better put his, I don't know, you can say money where his chest is, money where his pecs are. I don't know how you want to put it, but he better, this team better look the part, because when you got that guy doing that, they better back it up with their play on the field, because otherwise it looks like a clown show, for real. They better be strong, physical.
He's great. Don't use that word clown. He's great. I think he's great.
He's great.
I think he's great.
I'm saying if they get pushed around, that's what fans will be saying about this.
If they get pushed around,
can you imagine if his birthday happened to be the day after the Texas A&M game, and if they lost, and if he did that video then, people will be saying it's a clown show. He needs to understand he's not in Oregon. This is Miami fans, man. They want results, and if you don't get results, you will be ridiculed for stuff like that. That is something that I can see that in Eugene, Oregon. You don't see guys in the Miami weight room putting a bunch of bells and whistles on the end of that and singing happy birthday to yourself. That's not I don't know if anyone's told him that's not Miami, bro. But he'll figure it out. And
he's so damn negative. I thought it was one of the best videos I've seen in a long time. That's awesome. I thought it was awesome.
It's awesome if you want to laugh. Did you laugh at it, or were you like, wow, that's amazing? What was your reaction, honestly, Gary? What was your honest reaction watching that?
I was rolling on the floor. I thought it was so funny.
Right. But was he trying to be funny?
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
Okay. I hope so. Because he looked very serious. I'm not sure that he's always trying to be funny. I don't know. Because we have no sense of what his personality. I've never met a person with a personality like this. I've known some strange people. As a matter of fact, I had lunch with a strange person yesterday. One of my favorite people in the world. And when I say strange, I actually love strange people. Like, that's my thing. His name was, guess what his name was, Gary? I'll give you a hint. Testified in the Aaron I've got Aaron Feldman brain. In the Amber Heard trial.
Oh, your boy Ron.
Ron Schnell. He was one of the founding, what would you call it? Founding internet CaneSport people for us, right?
Yeah.
I've known him for 30 years.
He helped us with something. I can't remember what it was, but yeah.
Yeah, he's a computer genius. For those of you that are out there, he's a genius, very eccentric, and he did testify at the Amber Heard trial because he's an expert on computers, and he did some online bullying testimony there. And Gary and I know him very well. One of the good friends of CaneSport, and I assume that's the one who sent you that text that you read earlier. It has to be Ron.
It probably was, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we do continue to rank them all. We're not going to talk about them all. You guys can read the story on the website, but we thought quarterback's the best position right now. We thought tight end is the second best, running back the third best, special teams the fourth. So, but Matt, I will say it's number 5 before we get to defense, and defensive line, which we feel is looking much better and pretty good. So let's talk about the defense for a minute. And they're not really going to be able to show what they've got until probably this weekend when they have the first scrimmage, I would think. But there is a lot of hope, I think you would agree, up and down the organization, that the defense this year is going to be better.
Well, here's the problem we're going to have as reporters, and I know fans want answers now. There's going to be a scrimmage, and I have a strange feeling we're not going to learn a lot about who had sacks. In the past, they've given us statistics. Mario, from everything I'm hearing from Sports Information and from people, and we know Mario very well, he's going to be keeping things on the down low. He doesn't want anyone to know. Like, he's not going to say, oh my gosh, Mitchell Agude had 5 sacks, because now the opponents are going to be like, okay, we got to really watch this kid's film. Hey, left tackle, right tackle, keep an eye on this kid, look at his moves, study him harder, whatever. There's a reason why not a lot is coming out. There's a reason why the media wasn't invited out to practice yesterday. There's a reason why we only watched the first 4 periods. There's a reason why every single player, when asked any specific question, just says everybody looks good, everybody's working hard. The reason is they don't want anything out there. And even the stuff we do here, and we have people who tell us things, but if we ever reported any of it, we'd probably be banned from practice, and there'd be no more access at all. And we certainly don't want to screw anything up with the program anyway. So listen, we toe the line as a reporter. We report to you guys what we can report. I feel confident that that certain areas of the team are going to be really good. And you can see in the story this morning the areas we feel are questionable. And the fact that the defense isn't one of the first 4 strongest position groups out of whatever, was it 7? I can't even count how many position groups we have, 7. That tells you something, that every single bottom one is all defense. And I think the offensive line is one of them, right? Which is a little scary, because if you're going to be a really good team, to me, you want your offensive line and defensive line to be in those top 3, period. Like, that's how I build my team, is in the trenches. I think that's how Mario wants to build his team. And I think if Mario was going to tell us some secret today, he would say, I don't think the offensive line and defensive line is where we want it to be, nowhere near where we want it to be. And I think that's okay, because he's just getting started, folks. It's okay for them. You bet the over on the 8.5 wins this year. It's okay for them to win 8, as long as they get to 9 and then 10 and then 12, and I keep telling everyone, be patient, man. I tell people 2 to 4 years to be a playoff contender, and fans act like I'm so negative. Like, that's where the disconnect is, because that's not negative. That's reality, and it's positive, and it's the truth. Like,
they're going to try to make it 2 to 3. I mean, they're going to do their best.
Of course, they're going to try to make it 2.
Yeah.
But my timeline's within 2 to 4. He should have a playoff team in that time frame, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't. I mean, you just see the upward mobility in recruiting. You see the reaction of recruits to the program, and then you see them coaching. They stopped practice finally. The other day, I was so impressed, because they were just doing a simple drill, and I've seen this drill a million times with previous staff, and some of the guys jog in it. They certainly don't sprint full speed, every single one of them. So this was a drill where you run and you pick up a ball and then you go forward about 10 more steps and then they try to knock the ball out of your hands, you know. And when I tell you they were going 2 at a time, and when I tell you these guys were going all out every single rep, I mean, it's the truth. And I have not seen that here in so many years. And I think part of it was genius, because in the past they would sort of do it haphazardly. This is the genius of the coaching staff, right? Instead of just, you know, having one guy here and one guy here, or just doing position groups with your position coaches, no, they had them all lined up in a tight area, okay? And they had 2 guys going at the exact same time together. Not, okay, this guy's done, now the next guy goes, now the next guy goes. No, you start when the coach tells you 2 at a time, and that way you see this guy next to me is busting his ass, and if I finish 5 steps behind him, man, that's not going to look real good. And that's part of it's mental, okay? It's not just a mentality of the coaches want me to do it. It's also the coaches understanding the guy next to you is going to push you. And I haven't seen them run a drill like that in a tight quarters with the entire team, doing the entire offense, doing those drills with the defense helping out, trying to strip the ball, where they lined them up 2 at a time and had them go at the exact same time. So you could see, wow, this number finished a step ahead of that guy. That number finished 4 steps ahead of that guy. You don't want to be the guy 4 steps behind. And that's part of the reason why they were busting their ass. But that's also coaches understanding mentality, coaches understanding how you get the best out of your players in practice and how practice habits make game habits. And that's what's been missing. So it was wonderful. This was a 5-minute drill, and I was just so happy to see it because I understood. I haven't seen this kind of effort and energy. And then I realized it wasn't just from the players. It was from the way the drill was set up. And it's something that for some reason the previous coaches didn't understand or didn't want to do because it wasn't so easy. I don't know. But I was very happy to see that, among other things that these coaches are doing. But we'll see if it pays dividends, because at the end of the day, you still got mostly Manny Diaz players on this team. Manny Diaz recruited players.
Those people in our YouTube comments are right. You are pretty entertaining.
That wasn't entertaining. That was just what I saw. I mean, what's entertaining about that? If anything, that was boring, but that's just what I saw.
All right, we have a few more stories to talk about today before we let you go into the office. But first, let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
I know what you're thinking. Why do I get to star in my own commercial? Well, I was Life Wallet's first female athlete. So let me be the first to let you in on a little secret on how I've grown my NIL. Introducing Life Wallet Sports, a revolutionary platform giving athletes complete control over their NIL opportunities, connecting athletes to brands and businesses specific to their followers' likes and interests. And if that's not enough, this platform also helps athletes make connections outside their sports. So let's get connected on Life Wallet Sports. Take it from me. It's a hole-in-one.
It's a cool one.
Listen, I wish I was a golfer. I keep saying I want to take lessons, but then you keep giving me stories to write. I never have time to take lessons. I have played a little bit, but not very well.
I'm the same. Like, I have no time to play. I love playing golf, but
I'm just doing tennis now once a week, and that hopefully that and some elliptical work keeps me in shape. You know.
How about pickleball? Have you played pickleball yet?
You know, it's weird. All my friends, all 2 of them, have suffered severe injuries playing pickleball. I have one of them tore his Achilles, another one had a really bad foot injury.
Really?
Yeah, and then another one had to have elbow surgery. I mean,
playing pickleball? I thought pickleball was designed for older people who don't want to run as much.
I know. I think it's a quicker movement, smaller space type deal. I don't know. I'm like, you know me. I'm like injury prone. I remember I was doing when I was covering that. What was it? That recruiting event last year. Remember I was on crutches. Remember I showed up on crutches. I have a torn meniscus. And I thought the guy, I'm friends with the guy who does the MRI. He says, this is definitely surgical. I went to the surgeon. He said, listen, everyone your age who runs around has a torn meniscus. He says, give it a couple of months. We'll schedule the surgery and just see where you're at. And like miraculously, it's obviously still torn, but it doesn't bother me. I could run around, I strengthened the leg, and nobody out there is interested in this, so I'm going to stop talking about it right now. but I'm skipping the pickleball. I'm not risking that.
All right. So we have a couple interesting stories, also in addition to what we've already talked about on the website today. Ruben Bain. Everyone's saying, Matt, what's up with Ruben Bain? You know, everything makes sense for Ruben Bain to be a Miami Hurricane commit, to be an ambassador in this recruiting class, to be out there helping recruit other guys. Instead, Ruben Bain, whose brother's on the coaching staff or a support staff, and whose uncle Tolbert was a 4-year starter at Miami, is going through this process on steroids. Okay, he's visiting everywhere. He's experiencing recruiting to the max. He's been to Bama a few times, Florida State. I mean, he is going everywhere. Okay, and experiencing this whole recruiting process, like I said, to the max. And so, you know, we did an interview with Ruben, our Zuby Charles did, and a theme of the interview was like, Ruben, what is going on? Like, when are you going to put an end to this? And when are you going to announce a commitment? And presumably that commitment would be to Miami. Well, Ruben Bain makes it real clear, and you guys can read the story on the website, that this isn't ending anytime real soon. Okay, so if you're looking for a quick Ruben Bain commitment here before his season or something like that, probably not going to happen, Matt. And just in general, what your thoughts?
All right, so I've been talking with Ruben and even his dad and certainly his uncle quite a bit over the last, it feels like 30 years, but it really just been a year. I don't really understand. It's not fun. It's not fun for a recruit to be uncommitted anymore in October, November, because most of the top recruits commit. And if you're one of those few guys who hasn't, you need probably a second cell phone. You probably need a second home to go to avoid coaches from constantly knocking your door unannounced. You probably need to go to one-on-one tutoring so that you're not constantly being pulled out of class. And you probably need to avoid all people in general, because every single classmate, every single fan of every school is going to be all over your Twitter, all over you personally, telling you where to go and what to do and asking you what's going on. Recruiting used to be fun for recruits. And, you know, I get the sense talking to Ruben that it's not quite as much fun as he had thought it would be maybe a year ago. And it's only going to get worse, Ruben. He had gone from announcing at an all-star game in January, which was the original plan, now to signing, on signing day, now maybe before December a little bit. He's told different people different things. I don't know if this will be an NIL recruitment, which honestly every recruitment now is an NIL recruitment, which obviously it's illegal, but this is what happens now. You get these backdoor promises from business people of what you'll get. So that's a little concerning. Just the fact that, I personally think he's not loving the recruiting process as much as he was, not enjoying it that much anymore. The fact that he doesn't want to make a commitment for some of these guys who have already taken a bunch of visits and seen these schools, there's no reason they can't. He already in his heart of hearts knows that, hey, I could probably commit to my favorite school, save the spot, and still take a couple of visits. Like, it's okay. A school would take.
I think he knows they're holding a spot for him.
Well, I mean, a school would take.
Miami is holding a spot.
I understand. But Miami would also take his commitment, as would other schools, FSU or whoever, and he could say, listen, I'm committing to you, but I want to take a couple of visits. I'd say, sure, you got it. They're not going to say, no, hold off until you're sure. They'll take the commitment, absolutely. So the fact he's not doing that, I don't want to say it's concerning for Miami, because I still think he winds up at Miami. And you didn't mention Roland Smith also, who's been a big impact in his life, who's now at Miami as well. So there's so many ties to Miami's program for him. That's why it's a little weird, because if he had already committed, and if he knows Miami's going to be his home, he can help recruit for Miami. Because when you get a big name like that, there's guys that want to play with a guy like that on the defensive line. Because when a defensive recruit's looking at a program, he doesn't want to be the best player on the defensive line. He wants to be part of a great defensive line, because they take the pressure off him. Nobody looks good being constantly double and triple teamed, and nobody's happy being constantly double and triple teamed. When you look at those old Miami Hurricanes defensive lines that were like out of this world, the reason they were out of this world is because you couldn't stop one of them, because the other guy would get the sack. So you had to try and, mix up schemes and put a tight end on this play, on that side, and then try to maybe get a running back to chip a guy. And it's very difficult on offensive coordinators to account for great defensive tackles and great defensive ends. And when Ruben Bain commits to a school, if you also have, for instance, Miami has another high-level defensive line commit, you can get a couple of defensive tackles when you start recruiting those guys now and building a bond as a recruit with them. Hey, we're going to dominate. Hey, I'm going to take the pressure off you. You'll take the pressure off me. We're going to make Miami a great defensive line again with these coaches, et cetera, et cetera. So when you wait till signing day, it does to some effect, have some effect. It does have some effect in the fact that, hey, maybe you could have gotten somebody else who maybe you don't wind up with. You don't know because you don't have a time machine to do alternate realities as much as you want to. So it's not great for Miami. And it's also a situation where I think a lot of the Miami commits to other programs could wind up flipping, coming close to signing day or even on signing day just because of this whole NIL thing. We haven't seen a full NIL cycle yet, and we're going to see it now. I think fans are not going to be happy with NIL as it relates to programs. They'll be happy for the student athletes, of course, but I think fans are going to be very upset with NIL when signing day comes. I have a feeling across the country, there's going to be a big backlash against NIL as a concept in general, as it affects programs, not student athletes. Wait for it because it's coming.
Well, what's going to happen is everything that we've been covering so far and everything that we've watched so far is going to be rendered irrelevant in a lot of cases, and it's going to be back to square one. I mean, you're going to see a round 2 of recruiting on December the 1st, and it's
senior seasons haven't even happened yet. When guys ball out that we know we're going, like these Miami commits are going to ball out.
Values are going to go up, and values are going to go down.
Yeah, and Alabama all of a sudden wants a Miami commit who hadn't been recruited before and has 3 months left or 2 months left to recruit him. I mean, things change, man. Yeah. And it's going to be all about the NIL because these Miami commits now are almost solid to a T other than Frankie Tinalau. But when a school gets in someone's ear who's having a great senior year, like fans love it when a commit has a great senior year. I would never tell you to ever root against commitment having a great senior year. But it's just like when fans were celebrating when Miami lost to FSU because it was the end of the Manny Diaz era. There's going to be fans out there that are saying, hey, so he didn't have a great year. It's okay. Because now Ohio State and Alabama are backing off and Clemson's backing off. And, otherwise maybe he would have gone there for this NIL deal they would have given him, It's a mess, man. It's not like I enjoyed covering college football. I enjoyed covering high school sports. And it's just going to be different. It's going to be a different animal. And I think fans are going to get an unhappy taste of NIL. NIL does not taste good when your commitment has a great season and all of a sudden 3 schools through backdoor channels are offering the guy $1 million or whatever, making up a number. We'll see. I you know me, Gary. I'm always the optimist. It's going to be great. It's all going to work out.
Well, you mentioned Frankie Tinalau, and we have a story on him on the website this morning too. And Matt, that one's interesting as well because this is a guy from Australia that comes all the way to the other side of the world to go to school at Miami LaSalle. He commits to the University of Miami, but now he's talking about taking visits all the way back on the other coast to places like Oregon. I'm a little bit baffled by that. What do you make of that one?
Look, he's he's from Australia. I guess nobody gave him the memo that don't take any visits when you commit to Miami. Miami's not Clemson where they dictate, hey, you've committed, don't you dare take a visit anywhere else. I know Miami prefers that their recruits not take other visits. It probably, in my personal opinion, it doesn't make sense once you commit. Why would you take other visits? I understand why recruits want to commit. There's no reason not to because it's not binding. You've got your spot. But at the same time, if you want to enjoy, quote unquote, enjoy your recruitment, get some free lobster and steak and, be shown around the town at 4 other amazing, some people might think they're amazing, some might not, but recruits who pick those places think they're amazing places, then, I guess why not allow him to do it? Frankie's from Australia. He wants to see the United States of America. I don't blame him. If I was a recruit going to Australia, I'd want to get toured all around Australia for free too. Like, I get it. I don't think he's going anywhere else.
And those teams on the West Coast are going to think they can steal him.
Yeah, of course people think they can steal him. But he's playing high school ball here. He likes it here.
Yeah.
I see no signs right now that he's going to wind up anywhere else. But it's recruiting, This is why I've been saying. This is why I said,
hey man, we get you 5 hours closer to home,
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't. You still know how many hours it is just to get there? Give me a break. No one's coming to see him play a football game from Australia and flying back home. Okay.
I agree.
But what I will say is that, the NCAA needs to institute what I talked about a while ago, which is every day can be signing day. I mean, what's the harm? It's about the student athletes. And if the student athletes know where they want to go and NIL's become such a disaster, then just let them sign. Let them sign and make the signing last a year. you have to stay at that place for a year. Like the NCAA can do that, because there's recruits now who they're at a school for a month and they say, I'm leaving, and they're allowed to go wherever they want. If they enroll in May, they could wind up in August at a different school. So I would like to see, and I know student athletes, maybe some people don't think that's a great idea because, but there has to be a give and take. And if you're going to sort of have these NIL deals and it's running rampant, you need to do something to protect the programs because the student athletes are already benefiting. So now, are the programs really going to be left in the dust if they lose 15 commitments on signing day? I mean, yeah, you go to the transfer portal and grab 15 people, but is that really what college football should be? A lot of fans out there are going to be asking themselves in December and January, what is college football now? What is it? Is it professional football on steroids? Because is it, in the NFL you sign and you have a salary and you're at that team for 3 or 4 years. In college football, you basically have a salary. It's just called NIL, and you can go wherever you want, whenever you want as a free agent every day of the year. You can leave a program any day you want and go to the next program for that start of that next semester. Imagine the NFL with players on every team who could declare free agency every 6 months on their own. That's what the NCAA is right now. That is what the NCAA football has become. What NCAA football has become. That's a fact.
Yeah. All right, a couple of other quick stories I'll note before we get out of here. We've got a story with DJ Scaife talking about his progress. And you'll remember a year ago, he was at this same exact place where he is now. He was the starting right tackle, went out in the Alabama game, had just a horrible first quarter trying to block Will Anderson, who's only the best defensive end in the country. The coaches panicked. They yanked him out of the game. They put Justice in.
Hold on a second, because you keep talking about Will Anderson. Justice did okay against Will Anderson. He did okay. He did a lot better than DJ Scaife did.
He did better than DJ. DJ was in over his head at that moment.
Right, but Justice wasn't. I'm just saying that's just
Justice was a little older, probably panicked a little less. DJ probably panicked a little bit and got out of his routine and technique and really did struggle. And the coaches panicked and yanked him out of the game. And
they didn't panic. They gave him 2 series, and let's face it. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. DJ was awful against Alabama, but then to DJ's credit, he came back a few games later, got his chance at guard, and he had a really, really good season.
Yeah, he had a decent year. So now they're going to play him. He's going to be the starter at right tackle. We'll see. It should go better. He doesn't have to go against Will Anderson the first week of the season. So we do have a story with DJ. We also have a story on 5-star edge Damon Wilson from Venice, breaking down his top 5 schools in his recruitment, and Miami's right in the middle of that one. So we'll continue to monitor that and see where that goes. All right, we want to thank you very much, as always, for starting your day with us. I hope 48 minutes.
That was a long show. Oh, my Lord.
I hope 48 minutes of Cane's talk.
Nobody's still watching, Gary. Just cut. You don't even say goodbye, everybody. Just cut it.
Well,
Nobody's still watching.
I'm hoping that
50 minutes.
I'm hoping that 48 minutes of Cane's talk minus about a minute of We Are the World at the beginning that I felt
why would you play that whole video? Now that it's just you and me talking, nobody's listening. Why would you play that whole video? I mean,
nobody
wants
to watch
the entire video.
I played a clip. I played an edited version of it, but I wanted to play enough of it that everybody, kind of like, like you're sitting in a spa and you're breathing, the eucalyptus. And it's kind of like
correctly.
It's supposed to clear your mind or whatever.
Let me tell you something. I could have gone out, bought a Labradoodle, and trained it in the amount of time that video took.
I felt like we have a lot of people that just needed to take a deep breath, like just like breathe.
I thought the video was a little long. Maybe people will disagree.
All right, I apologize. Maybe I'll go back and edit 30 seconds out of it. But I can't do that, obviously. But no, I just wanted to let everybody just to chill out a little bit. I hope it accomplished that. I hope the rest of the show, another 46 minutes and change of Hurricane talk, did the same. I hope everybody's going to work happy this morning, feeling good about things, liking Matt Shodell, who I thought was spectacular on today's show,
right.
Maybe thinking that I'm not such a bad guy either. I hope.
Listen, but don't give me any plaudits. I'm going to get a big head. I prefer the negativity. It keeps me in my lane. That's why I prefer negativity.
Do us a favor. Whether you like us or not, hit your subscribe button, hit your like button. Make sure you subscribe to CaneSport.com. You get your first year at the new CaneSport for $1. And then hopefully you'll stick around afterwards, please, so that we can continue to bring you this fantastic award-winning content.
We hit 50 minutes. All right, now you can really cut it. I just want to hit 50. That's it.
I just wanted to hit 52. That's why I went on and on and on. All right, for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman.
Have a great day.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time.